rock and roll. So what is up, everybody? We're starting a little bit early. It's 11:59 on the East Coast here, and so far we're doing all right. We should be going live in a few seconds longer, but I am Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes. Hope you can enjoy this presentation today. So we'll get started in about 5-10 minutes. Hopefully it's going to work out pretty good. So far it's looking successful. It's streaming live and things are looking great. If you're just joining me, I've got a few people on already. You're welcome to let me know where you're calling in from or where you're watching in from. I don't do lives a lot, so trying to figure out how this is going to work and how things are going to work and all of that good stuff. So yeah, we're almost a minute away. I can keep talking for however long I feel like talking. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the 3 keys to unlocking a great website and how it actually works. So there's 3 parts which we're going to focus on today and talk about really when you get all those 3 keys actually in place, that's when the magic really happens in building websites. We'll get started in about 5 minutes or so from here. If you're just joining us, I'm always love to hear where you're tuning in from around the world. One thing I love about YouTube is the fact that you can actually get to people around the world. That is just amazing to me in the first place. So if you are just jumping online, welcome. I am Hayden Adams with The Designer Who Codes. I'm still working the kinks out as I don't do YouTube lives that often, but hopefully this is going to work out okay. So I'm just checking everything on both screens, seeing this all working itself out. We should be so far so good. Concurrent viewers, rock and roll. What's up, Dawn? Thanks for jumping in. So yes, I am Hayden Adams. We've got to start about 5 minutes or so on this live broadcast, get everyone kind of jumping in to go forward with this webinar. If you're just tuning in, I am Hayden Adams, located down in Savannah, Georgia, which is the southeast area of the United States. And I've been doing this for a little while. It's been a long time in the web development space, and that's kind of how I started that YouTube channel. I really wanted to create an outlet to teach other designers and front-end web developers really how to build great websites. That's really the mission of my YouTube channel. I've got a couple people jumping in so far. That's awesome. If you are jumping in, welcome. And as I'm talking more about the YouTube channel, I really had this idea of I wanted to build great websites, and the tools are just a part of it. It's really the whole entire bigger picture of website design I think about and how it really works. And so I thought about, well, what are the 3 keys that make up a great website? Got a few people jumping in. Thanks for jumping in. Kind of wait until about 5 after, 10 after to get this thing on the road. Everyone's kind of just getting started. I know I don't do live videos a lot. I've said it a couple times so far. Hope this is working pretty good. Again, it's one of my first time doing YouTube live videos, so I'm still trying things on the channel. If you like it, I might do more. If you don't like it, then I might not do more. You just never know what's going to happen. But part of A Designer Who Codes was really thinking about not just the coding aspect, but the design aspect as well. But you can't get to the design aspect until you get to the coding aspect. There's like this push-pull part of it all. So if you are jumping on, welcome. I am Hayden Adams, Designer Who Codes. I'd love to hear in the chat where you are calling or videoing or tuning in from. Not quite sure how we say that in the YouTube landscape, but if you are watching this from around the world, that is awesome. I'll start up in about 5-10 minutes to really go over the 3 keys to unlocking a great website. So Designer Who Codes really had that mission of building great websites. And so we'll get into these 3 keys really in depth today, but it's in part that you have to focus on not just there's 2 keys we'll focus on, but one in particular is really, really important. But everything stems from that moving forward. So looks like we're kind of rocking and rolling. Got a couple more people. Hey, what's going on, Terry? Thanks for dropping a comment in. I appreciate that very much. Got a couple more people jumping in. We'll start in about 2 minutes more, then we'll kind of go forth in this direction to talk about the 3 keys to unlocking a great website. Again, I'm actually calling in from Savannah, Georgia. I'm down here in the southeast. I love it. I'm a beach guy, so I had to get the beach to me, and minus the bugs, which it's the South. I love it down here. So, and in part, I really enjoy making these YouTube videos. So thanks to everyone for jumping in and actually finding me in the first place. I'm always amazed at the power of social media, the power of YouTube to really spread the videos far and wide, because it's my goal that through the different videos I put out, the different online courses, that you've been able to make pretty good websites. That's kind of the goal. So, well, I guess we'll kind of get started about here. The one thing I will say is that I go through the slides, I cannot see the chat window. So if you are chatting in, just a heads up, it's kind of hard to see both at the same time. Again, I'm trying to figure out a way to do this where it'll work successfully. Maybe I can do it this way. Let's try. Oh, there we go. Let's just do it that way. New trial run. I'm just going to keep Keynote up and do it that way, because then I can see the chats on that window, or is it that one of those windows? Anyways, we're going to stick with this one right here. So a little bit about me. If you're just tuning in for the first time, I've been involved in building and developing websites since the 90s. This was back in the Netscape Navigator eras, the Internet Explorer 1s, even the Mosaics back then. It really came from a time where it just was the early adoption of the internet. And there really wasn't anything to rely upon. There was just like, well, here's HTML. And that was great. And then eventually CSS came around. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can design. That is amazing. And after that, it became PHPs and Reacts and all of that. I have a background in design. I went to school, got my fine arts degree, so I actually have a BFA degree. So that's kind of why I say I'm a designer who codes, because I still have this web design, graphic design backing in me, but I've also learned how to write error messages and coding issues and all of that. So I've gone through the trials and tribulations of building a lot of sites over the past 20 something years. And not only did I do it for clients, but I also taught UX and web development in a university for 20 years. I taught a couple different junior colleges, went to university after that, and taught course after course on UX. Fun little story that I did have was way back when, maybe in 2013, 2014, we did actually do a redesign for the San Francisco Symphony. My students launched faux websites, and they were so good. And at the time, it was like SEO was really pre-Hummingbird Google, that they actually did so well that the Symphony had to call my students and tell them to take the sites down because there was a lot of problems involved. So I'm working in UX and web development for good on 20 years at university level. And aside from teaching, I also run my web design development company for 20 plus years, building great websites for clients. So, oh, I lost a slide. Where'd my first slide go? Oh no. See, I told you I was fantastic at this. Well, oh, you know what it is? Ha! That should say key number 1. I didn't lose a slide. So cool. So yes, I am new at this. Welcome everybody. This is YouTube Live. I thought I would master this approach, but apparently it's not so mastered in that case. So let's talk about the 3 keys and how they work in relationship to your website. Key number 1 is usability. And the question I ask myself all the time is, can the users use my website that I'm building? I'm not going to be able to sit there and teach someone how to use something every single time they hop on the website. So at the end of the day, the users have to move around my client site and not get lost and confused. Nothing's worse than entering a store that you've never ever been to before. And if there's no signage, then it's all going to go downhill. So a lot of problems will actually happen if we don't think about how we build a useful website. And we'll get more into these 3 down the road, but if you're taking notes, this is the first one. Usability is your first key. If people can't use the website, it doesn't matter anything else. Key number 2 is about structure. We're going to focus on this one a lot down the road in this little live stream because it's the code under the hood. And this is where it's like your engine of the car. Most people don't buy a car and look under the hood and go, wow, that's a really great spark plug. But to the builders at Ford, GM, Honda, Toyota, they're thinking of all those little parts that make the car run. So as front-end web developers and designers, we're really focused on structure. And that to me is where it can really make or break your site. A strong structure will hold the site together, but a weak structure will really create a lot of problems down the road for you and also the end user, which goes back to usability. The third key I talk about is design. At the end of the day, does it look good? And I talk about design in terms of, I think about these first three. If we were to give them numerical values, usability is about 40%, structures 40%, and designs 20%. Users can still get through a bad website, but they'll begrudgingly get through a bad website. So the design really makes things look extra gorgeous and making you inviting to come in. I've gone through different sites and I've bought different products through sites that I was like, oh, this website doesn't look good, but I can find the buy now button, I can click on shipping, and I can go forward and all is good. But I'm like, yeah, it's not that successful. So the third key really rounds it out in terms of design. So I want to talk about a basic website I just did a little while ago as more of a success story. And this one is Event Consulting International. It really had all three pieces to it. So this client, let me pull up my extra browser over here. I'll grab, there we go. So with ECI Events, this company, I mean, they're in the event consulting space, so they've had no business. If you know anyone who needs consulting, by the way, free plug for them. But in terms of the website, they had a previous site that was super slow. And thinking about the three keys, well, if I think about a slow website, and if I go back up, that starts with structure, but ultimately comes into usability. If I have to wait a little while or a long while for the site to load, that creates usability problems. So this site actually got rebuilt with Gatsby, one of my favorite tools. If you've seen my YouTube videos, you know I'm a Gatsby fanatic because it builds fast websites. People don't want to wait for sites to load. And so this site, using an SVG logo, so it's perfect on all 1X, 2X, 3X iPhones, loads super fast. So if I were to bring this in to incognito mode with no caching, it loads that quickly. And incognito is great because you can do it without actually having cache or in history installed. So this site is running super fast. I also cleaned up the top part, so it's a very, very clean navigation. To me, navigations should be invisible until you need to use them. They're just there. I don't like to put everything in a navigation, just enough for the process or the user to go through. What I also did was on this site is I also took out the drop-down. I am never a fan of drop-down menus because they can go absolutely haywire if you're not careful. What I do a lot is when you hit the page, you're going to come to the services page. When I say usability, if someone's looking for services, they can click on our services. As a result, you get three options: meeting planning, event creation, incentive planning. What this means is, as long as the user can find their way, if you give them clues where they're going, what you get as a result is a clean system of organization. So this meeting planning is ecievents.com/services/meeting planning. And if I head back to event creation, what I get as a result is this page, which again is services event creation. So I don't need to worry about creating drop-down menus. As long as they can find their way through, it's still a successful site. And that page speed has something to do with it. The process is here and the contact. They didn't want a form. We just left it by itself. So I just kept phone number and information. So this site really was slow, archaic, old, and I rebuilt it to a fast site. Now, when it comes to usability, if we come back to this number one key, this is also what Google looks for. To Google, they're looking for usability. And what I got as a result of this site was not only just a fast site for the user, but a fast site for Google as well. This is the power of having a strong structure, is that what you get as a result are fast page speeds, which in turn creates fast pages to load for usability. With Gatsby's version 3, and mobile is still more important, the top one focuses on the mobile, so it's a 94 out of 100. The bottom one, the home page for the desktop, scored a pure 100. Google's looking for this. This is partially design, but partially usability, but it comes back to structure. And to me, the structure is what really makes or breaks the site. Because if your structure is bad, Google's not going to like it. Google won't recommend it, and everything goes downhill. So it really starts from the structure of the page to go forward. What this site also has is it also is built for ADA compliance. So ADA, if we go to the W3 ADA page and we hit accessibility, what this site's also built for is accessibility. And this is also what's important going forward. And I think the second page was, here it is. That's what I'm looking for, the guidelines. So this site follows all of the guidelines with accessibility. And again, it starts with the structure. And then the structure creates the usability, not just for people who can see and hear fine, but the vision impaired and the hearing impaired as well. Modern day web development also takes into account accessibility as well. So it's important to build sites not only look good, but under the hood function successfully. And I'm looking for that right page. If I type menu, I think that's where I'll find it. Yeah, here it is, the tutorial page. Looking for it somewhere. So all my pages have structures that are built properly, from UL, LIs, including identifying menus. I have nav, UL, and then of course you either have OL or LI. And in my site design, what I have here in this navigation is, it's kind of hard to see in a live view, but I have nav, and then I'll have a UL, LI, UL, LI. So I followed accessibility guidelines on the page, and the client or customer won't see that, but it's important to follow the structure to identify menus, labels, and whatnot as you design your site. So, oh, I lost everything. Oh no. All right, cool. Yeah, if you're just joining me, once again, I'm Hayden Adams with Designer Who Codes. I'd love to hear where you're tuning in from. Thank you so much for everyone joining me. I appreciate that in the first place. I just lost my Chrome browser. So the three keys, think of it like a triangle, and that's not up and down, but side to side at an angle. And the reason for that is that they all work together. But most importantly, they work like this. In a triangle, your structure leads to design and leads to usability, and your structure will lead to usability because the client or customer cares about the usability. How you get to that is through design, and how you get to that is through the structure of your code. And that's really where in my YouTube channel, I really focus on that structure because it leads to usability and to design. It's great if we teach design, but there's one step before design. It's the structure. And that's what I'm really focused on at A Designer Who Codes. And I thought to myself, well, I'd love to make this helpful or even take it a step further to where I could help you on your journey in front-end web development and web design. And the YouTube channel is fantastic, but there's no way to interact with you aside from a comment or a reply. And I just felt that there was no way to reach out to everyone that I'm working with and really work stronger on that structure going forward. And so I had the idea that I said, you know what, I'd love to build some sort of structure, no pun intended here, and help you build the structure, which of course then will flow to the design and the usability. And so I created this new product called A Designer Who Codes Pro, or ADWC Pro. I wanted a way to connect with you on a much closer level to learn what you're doing, but also give you feedback and also build a course that you can work from. Courses are great, but I wanted a way to go deeper with you, my audience that you're watching. So thank you very much. It's so cool to see the stats jump around. So I wanted to create a society called ADWC Pro where we could go deeper in web development for front-end web developers and web designers. And one thing I really wanted to do was I wanted you to help you improve your structure on day one. I built 3 different courses where I took them apart from my last course. And so, you know what? Let's break this down into meaningful, tangible bits of information. The reason why I was able to achieve such high scores in this, even with where to go? A giant banner. And Google does not like giant banners. But the reason how I was able to achieve these numbers is through Gatsby's powerful image system. And so I thought, you know what? I'd love to create a little section just on Gatsby images to help you out directly. Because to me, if I build a course that's 8, 9, 10 hours long, I'm busy. I don't have a million hours in my day. So I would rather create a small little course with total support than a large course with no support. And if you've never touched Gatsby before, which is totally fine, I have Gatsby 101, just learning how you get set up and running. And then I also have a course called the About landing page in Gatsby. This is a fantastic mini course. And what I did with this course, if I can find my screen again, let me close some windows. Run presentations like I do on my daily work schedule. So what I have here is I created an About landing page. And what I wanted you to do is I wanted you to have an actual project to work in Gatsby. Because if we just had it in the blanket sphere. So what I did was I created this unique course and I wanted to create an About landing page for you to use. So this one's totally responsive, works every different way, shape, or form, including all different variations. So if we were to go into the mobile environment, it works on the iPhone X, the Moto G4. We can go iPhone 5 if we wanted to. This project takes into account all different screen sizes from iPhones to iPads to just our normal variation. So you can create your own version of this design in your project. And that's one of the 3 courses that I wanted to develop for you as part of this pro membership. Because designing in a vacuum is one thing, but if we learn the techniques of our structure, that'll go a lot further. And what I wanted to do was, as part of this membership, when you join, all the different courses that I'm building are absolutely free. So everything you get in here, every time I create a new course, I wanted to create it as a complimentary to a membership, because just buying a course on its own, I felt wasn't successful. So I wanted to create a membership that you could then utilize and also work together. So if you had a question, we could have a whole membership group of people say, hey, this is what I did. This is how I did. We can learn together. That to me was important, because in a classroom, we get to learn as a group. But when we're working by ourselves, we kind of work in a vacuum. And so I really wanted to create a way that made courses be successful. So if you are brand new to Gatsby, then hop on number 1. If you're just getting started in Gatsby, hop in number 2 with the About landing page. And if you want to take your Gatsby pages further, the blazing fast images in Gatsby is where it's going to go. And you can build a quick little page and also have it for reference. So if we head into A Designer Who Codes Pro, thought I had it pulled up. Maybe I didn't. Oh no, live broadcast and I closed the screen. Fantastic. Thought I had this all nailed down, but apparently I didn't. There we go. So the one thing that's also impaired about these courses is I make the courses in addition to where they become compendiums. You can come back to this, and in case you get stuck on a future project, this is really what I wish I had when I started building projects in the past. I can go back to this course in Gatsby, and I can jump into any one of these courses. So let's say I'm like, you know what? I want to figure out a way how to put a background picture in my project. I can watch just this video. And what I can do is, I won't play it because video on video is difficult, but I created a whole video just on the Gatsby background image using the GB image bridge. So if you ever get lost or stuck with Gatsby's documentation, I created a whole section you can go right back to, understand static image, rows and calls, GraphQL, Gatsby image. This is used either as all together to build your project or by itself when you want to come back and just get information, because nothing's worse than trying to troubleshoot when you can't find the answer. So I wanted to have this as a double process, one, to go through the course, but two, to come back to the course in case you're stuck. And what I really wanted, no, I don't want to edit that page. What I want to do was also, we have 101, 104, and 201. I want to create 3 levels depending on where you are, because this will help you going forward. And also in this area, I also created, come back to a little demonstration, I want to have monthly calls either through Zoom, or if we get too big, we'll have to go back to YouTube. But I wanted a way to connect to you. I really wanted a way where YouTube is great. We have 1,700 plus followers. That's great. My email list is really good. But I wanted a deeper connection with you, my audience. I wanted to learn what you're working on. I want to see what you are doing, because then I can use that as YouTube material going forward. And so once a month, I want to have these live calls. I want to have this where you can get emailed. We'll hop onto Zoom. We'll see everyone's faces, because right now this is just me talking to a Carl Zeiss lens. And with Zoom, we can have it all across the world going forward. So if you are interested, that's also part of this membership going forward, that we'll do a once a month call as like a check-in, a Q&A. And I am doing a welcome party next Wednesday. So if you do join, we're going to have a little Zoom welcome party from your home or office. It is still COVID. We're not going to go in person, even though we're all around the world. Anyways, that going forward. So that's what I wanted to create, is a tool to really help you focus on these 3 keys. And it all starts again with that first key down here, structure. This is the most important, but we can't get to usability until we get through the structure. If I don't build a solid site, my usability is not going to work. And so it's easy to teach usability, but I want to teach usability through the structure of the site. That is paramount. I've seen so many people build Photoshop files that looked fantastic, but they couldn't build them. And that's where it starts, is at the structure. I've also seen people do usability where I said, there's no way you're going to build this in code without pulling my hair out. And so without structure, usability and design is completely lost. So at the very end of this is where I'm working on, is a Designer Who Codes Pro. And what I also want to create was topics and areas to show your work off. I'd love to see what you are working on. To me, that's the most important. I want to help you in your work. And there wasn't a way to do this in YouTube. All I can get is comments, reply back, reply forward, and to go that direction. So I really want to create a way to create sharing your wins, but also I need some help. Like, what do you need help with? I'd love to create a community that actually has this as part of the tools within a Designer Who Codes Pro. So I wanted to launch this and see how it was going to work. This is the first time doing this. I am the first time doing YouTube, first time doing a membership, to see if this actually worked. And I want to create this founding member launch because I want to create this community of people where I could then work more closely together with going forward. And I'm opening this up today, but I also want to close it on Sunday. I want to have a small group of founding members to make this work. Because if I open up forever, there's welcoming parties every single time. And I want to create more of a cohesive, small group to work together. And so I'm opening the doors today, and I want to open until Sunday, May 16th. That's like 5 days. Yeah, 5 days in there going forward. And the biggest thing I also want to do is I want your help in shaping this membership. That's the biggest thing. To me, I want to make sure you're getting the help you need to build great websites. And that structural piece is a crucial component to moving forward in both design and usability. And the big thing I also wanted to give to people as well is I also wanted to talk about how I don't want to raise the prices. Once you hit this, your price won't change. And so I wanted to create this model. Of course, I lost the page again because I was a genius. And in this section right here, I wanted to keep it at just $19 a month because we're all small business owners. We're a lot of people who work for ourselves through small companies, and price is an issue. And so as a starting member, what I wanted to create was a membership that was affordable. And to make it even closer to where it can work together, I wanted to create a price that really was worthwhile to work the entire year together. So I wanted to say, hey, for $1.99 a year, we can get this thing started and we'll see how it works. And you can also help shape how a designer who codes works. So I put a link in the description, but I also wanted to ask any questions. I kind of wanted to go until 1 o'clock. Any questions you have on this YouTube live video that you have about the 3 keys. I know we have a couple of viewers watching live right now. I wanted to go till about 12:45. If there's any questions you have on web design development, on any pieces in here, on usability, on structure, on design that you're kind of struggling with, because that's part of this membership piece, is I wanted to create a way where we could ask Q&A and then get the feedback you're needing, because that's the biggest piece about working on YouTube is I don't get the back and forth piece of it all. So any questions you do have, drop them in the comments. And if not, I can keep talking. It's really easy to do kind of thing. But I want to create this launch to say, hey, Elton, Elton's here. That's awesome, from Brazil. Thank you so much. So I was just saying before, what I'm working on is I want to create a founding member launch with ADWC Pro. And if you are set up my emails, I will send this out as a reminder to say, here's what's happening. But I wanted to create ADWC Pro to work closer together with you. And once I close the doors, I want to have a small group in which to work in. And I wanted to make it price sensitive for everyone who's working from a small business, a student perspective, or a small business side going forward. So that's what I'm working on in ADWC Pro. I'm going to continue to post videos. I'm going to create more courses that I want to create for you out there. But I at least wanted to create something that works for you as a web designer and web developer out there. So if you have any questions about this, but yes, it is open. If you do have my email, I will be sending this out in about the next 20 minutes to announce that AWC Pro has opened the doors to go forward. But how you sign up is basically head to adwcpro.com, choose a plan, and hit that big choose button, and you're on your way. So if you have any further questions, you can always email me, you can message me, and if you do sign up as a member, where if I were to have it actually on the page, you can start interacting with me right now through the discovery section. So I built this where we have information about signing up, but I also want to know who you are. So I'm always curious, where is the most awesome place you traveled to, your favorite color. I want to get to know you as a web developer and web designer. And then you can always find all of my events located right here in the event section going forward. So that's ADWC Pro, a new piece that I am launching going forward. And if you have any questions, you can always email me. I'm Hayden, or I'm actually in the info. I'll use the info at designerwhocodes.com. You can always go to my website and find me there. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. The doors are open. Please feel free to any questions you have. And if not, we closing the doors to this new project on Sunday, and hope to see you in ADWC Pro. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I am Hayden Adams with A Designer Who Codes.